to me. You are so beautiful. To me, can't you see? You're everything I hope for. You're everything I need. You are so beautiful to me. You are so beautiful to me. You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see? You're everything I hope for. Everything I need. You are so beautiful to me.
I'm looking for a place to go so I can't be all alone from thoughts and memories, so that when the music plays I don't go back to the days when love was you and me. Oh, moja droga, ja cię kocham, means that I love you so. Moja droga, ja cię kocham more than you'll ever know. Kocham ciebie całym sercem. Love you with all my heart. Return to me and always be my melody of love. Wish I had a place to hide all my sorrow, all my pride. I just can't get along, 'cause the love once so fine keeps on hurting all the time. Where did I go wrong? Oh, moja droga, ja cię kocham, means that I love you so. Moja droga, ja cię kocham more than you'll ever know. Kocham ciebie całym sercem.
So you were born in Dobra in 1936, right?
30.
No, 1930.
1930. So you're 2 years younger than my father. So you should, and you left Dobra in 1945.
1940,
No,
1947.
1947. Okay, so you,
I know very well very well all the killings and who did the killings. I see them. Horror story. I can start with the horror story. I'm very disappointed in the Ukrainian people, although I am some parts of it I am. I read a lot of Polish literature, history, read Ukrainian history, Bohun and Khmelnytsky, who created a Ukrainian during the Tatars' time.
you were born in 1930, you said, and your parents were born in America, right?
Right.
But your grandparents, they came to America, right?
They came to America to work over here and make money.
Yes.
And go back.
Do you know anything about your grandparents? You knew them?
Grandparents, yeah, I know them well, yeah.
You knew them?
Yeah, not my father, not because my father died before the mother, and mother married the Natushko, and she remarried, and they had 10 children, and the 10th child she was given the birth. She died with the baby.
Uh-huh.
So my father was he somehow got foster parents.
Mm-hmm.
He got into foster parents. He was born in 1904. My mother was born in 1903.
Mm-hmm.
Both in the United States. My father was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Scranton Street.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved different times, of course.
Yeah. But may I
Because my
return
mother
once
was 12 years, only years the difference on a birth date.
Yeah.
But my mother was 12 years longer in the United States than grandparents of my father.
Mm-hmm.
They went earlier, so therefore my father didn't go to school.
Mm-hmm.
If he would stay in the United States, he would be going to school. So my mother made her school 12 years in America.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't remember anything
Right.
after she grew up. She should have.
Do you know when your ancestors, came to America? In what year? Did you try to find out, or
When they came to America, no,
what
I
year?
never did, but it's a pretty good idea. If my mother had 12 years, when she was born in 1903,
She was born in 1903. Yes, and
she 12 years, so she must have got born right when they got to America, a year or two.
so they came to America just before your mother was born.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. That's right.
I see. So why they return? Your parents they return to Dobra.
Well, I guess probably stupidity, really. And my mother cursed her father, and
So they returned to Dobra, and they worked in the farms. And you were attending elementary school in Dobra.
well, very unusual. So I went almost a year to a year to I went to school. I was around 9. So just probably 8, the end of the month, around 8, I guess, 8. Because I went to school before the partition of Poland, when Germany declared the war. They didn't declare, they just attacked.
Yes. So you went to school before the war.
Before the war, about a year.
Yeah.
Just about a
You
year.
remember the names of your classmates? It was
No,
Ukrainian
none of them.
school or Ukrainian Polish school?
That's Ukrainian Polish. school.
Ukrainian Polish, because they
Yeah.
changed sometimes.
Yeah,
You know.
Ukrainian Polish. But actually, they were teaching Ukrainian.
Yes. And it was 4-class school, right?
4th class, that's right. They were building 7th class.
Yeah, they were building at the
My
time.
father worked on. My
Yes.
father worked on
Yeah.
that school.
Yes, it
Getting
was-
50 is low.
Groszy.
Groszy per day or per
Yeah.
hour. I don't remember
Yes.
now. I think per day.
So you don't remember your classmates? You know, you attended with maybe Michał Popiel, maybe with Krowiak, maybe with Pankiewicz.
No, Krowiaks were one Krowiaks on the top of the mountain where we live. Well, they're all family of mine.
Mhm.
The Krowiaks, my mother is Krowiak side.
Mhm.
Because my mother's sister married Krowiak.
Mhm.
And Krowiak was the 2 brothers. So one Krowiak was related to family, blood family,
Mhm.
and the other not, because then the Krowiak had a son that's like my mother like my mother having me,
Yeah.
had a son, and then my mother had me, so we were second cousins.
Mhm. I see.
We were second cousins. They were grandma and Krowiak's wife was sisters,
Mhm.
and I and Krowiak's son were first cousins.
Mhm.
And Krowiak's son, there's another one, his name's Stanley, he went to school with me.
Yes. You went to. So you probably went to school with my father too, because I know this Krowiak, you know, and
He
was
lives now by the
river.
river,
Yes.
Sound, but before he lived
Yes. Right.
right in
Right.
the mountain,
Yes.
about a mile away from me.
Yes.
We,
So you were not. You don't remember my father? He was with Krowiak in school, you know.
Well, Krowiak,
Yes, yes.
really, I don't remember, because Krowiak, he was a year or 2 older than me.
I see.
So we went to school
Yes.
together
Yes.
because the timing was the same,
Yes.
but the
right.
classes were not.
Yes. Right. So you know, in
I used to remember a couple of girls that I was in love.
You said it
I was
right.
in love with the popular, I think was her name Christina. She was a beautiful girl before I left Poland.
So tell me.
And the popular, my fathers, they were friends, but the populars were from the right side of the Poland, Dobra. They were top, the other side of the mountain, closer to Terava, right?
Yeah.
And we were
Yes.
toward the Borovnica,
Mhm.
right? You probably know better than I, but I guess you want to hear my story, so. And I was very saddened. But now speaking back about my father and what made them come back from the United States to Poland, I think that the money went into their heads. They were making a lot of money in the mines. My mother's father, my grandfather, he used to go and have a good time, and from time to time he got mad. He took the money and carried the money and threw to the spluwaczki, to the spit cup. He did it very well. Then he went on the top of the nowhere all that ground that he bought it, it was all bushes and a little land here and bushes, little land here. My father, I think, side had a better land than my mother's side. Although my mother's side had more land and toward
You mean
Bukovina,
Yes.
toward the Bukovina down. I don't even remember the geography already. Bukovina and Wola.
Wola Krakowska.
Yeah. So that was the other mountain, and there was some hrabia or some hrabia. It's like a pan jakiś pan tam to nazywali pan.
What was his name? Dobrzański?
Maybe could have been. I don't know. I don't know.
So you were attending school, you know, and the Germans came, and after 2 weeks, you know, on September
That-
17, Germans were pushed by Russians, you know, to the left side of the sun, and Russians came, right?
That's-
Soviet Union came to Dobra,
That's right.
and they stayed until 41. And you were attending school when Russians were in Dobra.
I
What was-
attended
what
school
was-
the Russians. as
What
well.
was special, you know, when the Russians, because Russians were for 2 years in Dobra, right? So what
No,
was so
I don't think so. A year only. A year and a few months, not really 2 years. It's
So yes,
29
year,
September.
till June,
Yeah.
till June 1941,
All
right?
right.
Do you remember anything special, you know, for this period of year and a half when Russians, you know, occupied Dobra and
Well,
there
I
was a
can-
border
yeah,
on the
yes.
Sun River?
Oh yes, I can tell you some
Just
story.
can you concentrate on those 1 year and a half, you know, and tell us about, you know,
All right,
communist rule in Dobra? Were you attending? Were you able to attend school at that time?
Oh, I had excellent conditions. We had excellent circumstances under the Russians. Excellent, excellent, excellent. We had. Very unusual, very unusual. Well, when I was going to school, of course it was a mixed school. Polish children were getting the coffee. I was not getting the coffee. But then there was a debate, national debate that time, and in Poland, with the government, between the government, labor side,
Okay.
and Senacja, that means bourgeoisie.
You said Polish children were getting coffee in school. You were not, so you
Yeah,
were not
that's
treated
right.
as a Polish.
The feeling was bad. The feeling was bad. But we overcame that part. And
Now, I would like to return this. So you said you were not treated like other Polish people, but in school Polish children. But there were not so many Polish children in the school because Dobra was, you know, inhabited by Ukrainians.
no, it was about the minimum of 20 Polish people.
Yes.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Well, I would say 50. I would say 50.
Yeah.
Maybe 100.
So
You
Russians
know,
came.
Polish had at that time population probably around 4,000 people.
No, I mean.
It was 900 houses,
Yes, in Dobra.
Dobra, but the people population was around.
4,000, but
4,000.
among them were about 200 Polish people, let's say. But you said you were not treated good, you know, when Poland ruled Dobra, until, you know, Russians came. You, as an Ukrainian, you were not getting coffee, right? You said that before.
That's right.
Yes.
That
Then
was
Russians came, and you were treated better by Russians.
well, it was the circumstances. It was the circumstances, unusual circumstances. We were treated very well, and especially we will treat excellently special by the Stab, headquarters of the Russians in Dobra. That was the main headquarters, not Uluj or anywhere else. It was
Was
in
in
the
Dobra?
Dobra headquarters. Somehow my father met the Ukrainian officer who was the head of the Dobra army,
Russian army in
Russian
Dobra.
army board in the
Yeah.
watching the border. And so we were all going to school here from beginning, maybe 6 months, whole entire Dobra. And then it took about 6 months. They decided to put a fence around the sound and put it maybe 100 or 30 meters of space and another fence. And between the fences, they used to grade the ground so it would be always soft in case somebody walked to the border. And then they decided to evacuate all the people with the perimeter of
Yes.
certain.
Some of them they sent to Siberia, like Krajnik, whom I know.
Yeah, well,
lives in-
that's what I'm going to. That's so. They all went, most of them, to Siberia. They took all those people once they decided that's they created the border with Germany. So with the perimeter of the Granica, the border, they evacuated all the people to Russians. So the good times for us came after all those people were removed by force to Siberia. We were very sad about it, but anyway, that's something
Why it
you
was good?
you
Why-
can't foretell
Yes.
what's
What
the future going to be.
Yes. So what happened next?
So what happened when they moved all those people? They made my father guarding all the territory he limited for the border. My father had a right to go into the territory that were in a Russians a war zone. And at that time, this officer made him the head of the entire Dobra territory. He was responsible for weeds or whatever was that would be taken. And my father didn't know how to read or write, but he was smart man. I think he was a very intelligent man, because when he didn't know something, he didn't claim he knew. He was a straight, honest man. Lowly man, small but lowly man. And so after that's finished period, so nobody was seeding no more. Nobody was putting potato in the ground. Nothing. It was nobody was doing, because the population was moved.
Yes.
But the other population remained. So, but my father had nothing to say to other population. Those that were not
Yes.
taken to Siberia. So they didn't like my father, because they would look like my father was a communist, because he had a hand in hand, So a lot of things happened. So from top of the mountain, my mother stayed home with my sister. I moved to Dobra, right on the border of the zone of actually in the zone of the war zone. All right, what I will call it the war zone. And we moved there, and we moved to the house. I don't know the family name. House of a certain person that his father was the other side, the little this ditch that's going toward the west, where the Karczynskis were and all. So
So you moved to the house of one of the people who
they were
moved to
sent
Siberia?
to the Siberia.
Uh-huh.
But his father remained on the other side of the not
river?
San, the little river, little
yes.
Rzeczka, Potok. And as I climbed to the tree, because we were living there with the father to make things easy, and because you know it's a big mountain to travel on the top was hard. So besides, he had to be on time for the Russians. So this officer was Ukrainian from the Russian army, and when the Russians fought Finland while they occupied Poland, half of the Poland, they brought a lot of horses, and those horses were starving. He bought it from his pocket to my father 2 horses, beautiful horses, but there's only bones. But my father had a right to the war zone, so there was a plenty food for the horses. Those horses became elegant after Germany took him, after there's a long story, after Germany confiscated the father and gave him money to buy working horse, because that was a horse.
Oh, I see.
You only give him a signal and he go. It was some probably officer's horse, 2 horses. So then the Ukrainian people over there, they were communist Ukrainians. They were communists.
In Dobra?
Mikhaenko, he was the headman, Mikhaenko. He was a headman, and his son was going to school with me. So although there was no animosity, with his son and me going to school together, but this Mikhaenko was a no good son of a bitch. He was such a communist.
So what did they do, those communists?
He protested. He made the protest to higher authority over this officer. That finally there was in the Luft. My father had to go testify for the officer. Well, he was that kind of a strong communist. Nevertheless, how he ended up, I'll make it short. The minute the Germany got in, the Ukrainian people, he was Ukrainian, communist, they took him by the feet and dragged him all over the Dobra, Kościeniec.
Okay.
All right.
So Russians were pushed by Germans. Germans came on June 22nd, 1941 to Dobra. This communist, you call him Michałko, he was an inhabitant of Dobra. He belonged to Dobra, right?
That's right.
He was treated, badly by other people. They remember what he did, right? What about, I have one question.
Michałko was this?
Yes, you said his name was Michałko.
Mechanik.
Mechanik. Okay, what about the church? The church existed, when Russians, communists occupied Dobra. What about the priests?
No,
Did
they
you go
were
to-
taken to the Siberia too.
They were
Yeah,
taken to
they were
Siberia.
taken to Siberia.
There were no masses in the church, right?
No masses, no
The
masses.
church was closed.
Close.
Okay, then Germans moved. The priest returned. His name was Hajdukevich.
Yeah, I don't think he returned.
No, I think that Hajdukevich was until 1946
No,
in
no,
Dobra.
you're right. Something, yeah. He did, yeah. He returned somehow. He returned
Yes.
somehow
So listen.
because he sent a lot of people to Auschwitz.
Yes, your sister told me that. Listen. Germans came, and what was going on since 1941 till 1945 when Dobra was occupied by Germans? What was going on? Well, I know that many people went to Germany to work as slaves in Germany, but beside that, what
That's
happened in
true.
Dobra? What was going on in Dobra?
Dobra, Germany was a well. You want a straight answers, which I.
No, what
I'm-
happened?
I'm
Just
not,
just tell us
not-
what was
First,
going on.
I
What
was
do you remember?
continue going to school.
You were continuing.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to
Yes,
ask.
I was
What-
continuing to school. It was no longer good because the Ukrainian right away pledged themselves to Germany.
Mhm.
And the German teacher, man, in uniform, slapped me a couple times. At
So
once.
Germans were in the village. They stationed in the
No,
village.
they didn't station. They didn't station in the village. They stationed in Urucha.
In Łódź?
Yeah, and in the building of hrabia, some Polish nobility, rich nobility, town. And where we live, all those farms belong to him. The Liszczas, the leaf forest was belonged to him all the way to Borownica, all past to Borownica. And the other fir forest belonged to a Dobra. Belonged to the Dobra itself. So that was the case. So let me tell you when the Germany came first time. When the Germany came first time, a Polish army which were stationed at Sanok, Pulk Podhalański, and of course they moved. They were trying to create front the battle area, and Germany didn't have no choice where to go, but they had to go to Borownica, Uruch and Borownica, to continue to go to Bircha and Przemysl, Dynów. So all going through us between the mountains and go that way. Especially because the Polish army from Sanok, they created blockade for them, and there was a fierce fight. So in the Borownica, which was only going through the forest, maybe 3 miles, that's where Polish soldiers put in the hell fight. Very 2 weeks they were fighting, thundering like hell. So they must have killed, Germany must have killed hundreds of Polish soldiers, hundreds. And a lot of resentment I have, maybe. The Ukrainians went to dig out those soldiers and take their uniforms. They went and picking the soldiers and take them for execution or to Uruch, or if they got in the hand in Germany, they were safe. If they got in the Ukrainian people's hand, they were shot. So it was very unpopular in Dobra. In Dobra, as you go from Pron, where the school was, in that main road going toward the Uluch, there is where the school, there was like a capital. There was a theater also. I don't know, but there was a theater. Russian used as a theater, a big, like, a pretty big building. Was next to the school, and my father's brother lived right there somewhere, who Germany hung. So they hung him.
What's his name?
Huh?
What's his name?
His name was Nick.
Nick?
Yeah. Nikolai Demkovich.
So, tell me about this Mikołaj Dymkowicz. He was hanged by whom?
By Germany.
By Germans?
By Germans.
And he was brother of your father?
He was brother of my father.
Why Germans hang him? And he was hanged in Dobra or where?
I didn't follow it up where, but none in the Dobra, no. He was hung, he was taken, I think, as a laborer to Germany. They hung him.
Oh, in Germany.
Yeah, in Germany.
So there were many people taken as a laborer to Germany.
Yeah,
right?
many volunteer,
Some volunteered, yes, some were forced
yeah.
to go there.
So, so that was all. After that's what had happened.
And then the
what the
war
people
was, Germans lost the war. You know, Russians were coming back. What happened in
worst
1945?
was, yeah, let me finish the Germany a little bit. So then the Germans back to the Sun. So we were taken by the Russians, and then that's where we had good times, because you know, when my father, I didn't finish to say, he became this officer's favor, and this officer, as I said, bought him 2 horses, and he made him a delivery man of food from Vankovich or somewhere else, I don't know, or near Czechs, near the Slovak border. There was another headquarters, and the food was coming from some other place. So he was, they call proviantowy. And what father had to do, take all the leftovers that were left in the warehouse home, and new stuff he delivered, that was it. So we had plenty of bread, because there was a lot of bread left, and it was smart to half a drum of beczka smalcu, the fat, or half a pig or so. So we had it pretty good that way, so you couldn't complain. They tried to force my father, this Mikhailko, forced my father to kolhoz. So this Ukrainian officer told him,
So
no way.
there was kolhoz in Dobra?
Oh yeah, there was kolhoz.
Do you know how it looked? So your father didn't belong to kolhoz?
No,
right?
he did, because this officer, he refused, and he was, maybe he was spared, because otherwise Germany would have probably first thing shoot my father and would take whole family to Auschwitz. But because he didn't belong to party, Communist Party, he didn't join because you had to join kolhoz, you had to be a partyman.
Yes.
So, and my
So-
father refused.
So later on, Germans sent many people
so,
to Dobra
let me finish that part. So they finally, those Ukrainian Dobra people come up on a know-how to get rid of that officer. Head top officer. So there was he was removed, or maybe he was not removed. But anyway, he had a son court appearances with my father, and because the communists made a complaint, Dobra communists complained that he's using territory that he shouldn't be using, and jealousy, you know. And the war started with the Russia, Germany started it. So my father didn't have to go no more to testifying, and we don't know what happened to that officer. So that's the way it ended. And the German came in. All the Ukrainians were so happy, Dobra Ukrainians. Some were like where I said that intersection. There were a few rich people. One corner were Jews by the bridge. The other side, I forgot what was his name. You maybe know his name. He was a rich name, Baron. I can't remember. He was right next to the church. Beautiful home, and all the land right to the church, bordered with the church. And educated. Then we had Tchaikovsky's there. They were nice people, not non-political. Many and were very nice people, didn't bother. But there were few very rotten, and this one I have to tell you. I was in a partisan partially. We were, because my father knew all the forests in the area of Poland, that south of the Poland. He knew the Bieszczady, all those forests. So he took. One time we were making, me and my father, we were making a lime, stone, burning stone. You make it a hole in the ground, and you put it rocks, so lime rock in the hole, and you create like an oven. And then you put the wood and you fire and you burn it. It takes about 5 days, 4 days. We were burning a tree that we were firing, and suddenly our dogs started barking like a hell, and suddenly many, maybe 30 military men came in. They were dressed, some kind of coats they had, I can't recall, but they were hidden their insignia. They were hidden. They took it off. They were all officers, all had a insignia. So they were moving toward the Warsaw fight. See, and they moved from different territory, and they already had the setup. Like you watch your war histories, France, that one moved the other, and they knew who would not tell and deliver. So my father was like a delivery man for partisans.
What partisans? Ukrainian
Polish,
uprising army?
Polish.
Or Polish partisans in this area
Yeah,
too?
yeah, oh yeah, that was heavy, every day. One time during the day they stopped in our house for water or something. They were all machine guns, you know.
Do you know, they belong to so-called Narodowe Siły Zbrojne. What kind of, group was this?
That was AK. So,
It was AK?
Yeah, AK, Polska
Armia Krajowa.
Armia Krajowa.
But this was after the war?
That was when the Germany were starting to be defeated.
Yes.
So
This
it was
close
in,
to the war, close to the end of the war.
Well, it was by a year before the end of the war.
Yes.
By a year.
Mhm.
Some early, for instance, we had a situation that one soldier, Russian soldier from Warsaw, from Stanok, ran away,
Mhm.
and he come to us because through the fires there was a stop. We were a station for fugitives,
Mhm.
as you call for Germany, the language. I mean, you would call. I mean, it's from their side point of view,
Mhm.
would be fugitives, and we always gave fugitive a help.
Mhm.
We were that kind of people, and one time, of course, when maybe 500 partisans came in our territory, and
So these were Polish partisans. You said
Polish,
they were
yeah,
AK.
Polish.
What about Ukrainian, UPA?
Oh, that's later. That's later. That's later. So we were with them, and my uncle, he Kaczynski, my mother's brother, he would have been, I don't know, thinking. He was thinking, but he should have joined the partisans sooner. Because he did it something to the Dobra. He was a popular man, and he was very popular with the Polish police. And police was in Mrzygłód,
Mhm.
and he was a little thief, my uncle.
Mhm.
So he was so many times arrested that they became his friends. So he stole, and the Bircha was a ballroom, the Prince and some other people was a big ballroom. He stole brochure, women's brochure, something like a $100,000 brochure. And my mother, then they took it stoned out, and he gave my mother to go to Sanok, and in exchange, so he was the kind of guy that so he demanded a equal rights during the journey. He demanded equal rights in the Dobra because he didn't have it that much land to pay the same taxes as the other. So, and Ksiądz, the priest, Hajdukevich, and this Jack, they were murderers. Regardless, Nazi, not being Nazi, Ukrainian Nazi or nationalist, is different than be a executioner. That is the difference. So he, when he create that, and Mrzygłód agree, jako gmina, agree to make it change the taxation. 2 weeks later, they took him to Auschwitz.
Do you know So what is his name? Karczynski, right?
Kaczynski, Stanley.
Stanley Stanisław Karczynski was taken to Auschwitz.
Actually. Then they took 20 people in the same one night.
Germans
With Germans.
to Auschwitz.
Actually.
Do you
And
know
all-
their names?
Huh?
Do you know their names? How do you know that they were taken to Auschwitz?
Well, because we communicated.
Uh-huh.
We got ashes. I don't know. They any kind of ashes they gave you. We didn't know, but they sent the ashes to my grandmother. So you knew what's going on. Even on top of the mountain, we knew more than anybody else because the information was behind coming in. So I'm surprised that they didn't liquidate us because we were the stop station and we were helpful. So we had broke the rules of Germany on every aspect. So I have, well, I don't know what you want me to say. If you want me to say
No, just continue.
about the Ukrainians,
No, now
or
they.
you want to say about what happened Polish? Let me say what happened very important for me, which very hurt me. After talking to Mike, the next day I was crying like hell. I finally realized what all these Ukrainians were doing to the Polish people, who they lived together before the war. They fought with the Petlura. First they fought against each other,
Yes.
then they joined
Right.
and they were fighting the Russians.
Right.
And then they become murderers. Okay, for instance, I know as a fact, Hnat. I don't know, maybe Hnatushko, or it was the complete name, but they call him Hnat. There was the three Hnats: Nikolai, Andrei, and John. The John was a murderer. His brother was taking, digging the dead bodies and taking uniforms from mass graves. So there was rotten people. His brother, John, who was finally arrested and sent to Siberia. Then was another Hnatushko. My father's, that's right, there was another Hnatushko. My father's stepfather, brother, who lived down the valley, he killed his sister. He was a no good bastard. He was protecting Lishniche. I don't know how you call it in English, Lishniche, watching the forests. And his son married to Kroviaks. So Radovevi became related two-way. Natushko from my father's stepfather, and Kroviaks. He married Kroviaks' daughter, my mother's cousin's. He married my mother's cousin, Kroviak, and he was a murderer. So they were telling us straight in the face, "Вас шлях trafisz, nyní. Your good time is over. You're going to be all hanged." Yeah, they were. But the Germany didn't hang us, although they had a good reason probably to do so. Because we were, first we were with the Russians, but probably protect us everything because American citizens. That's probably we had a protection. And the worst thing that happened to me as when I began to cry, and I would start saying, Down the valley were living my grandfather, and next door to grandfather lived Brudzinski, name was, and Uhren.
Uhren, you know the first name?
Uhren married my mother's sister. Then he went to SS, but he didn't go willingly. They forced, because I know he
Oh, do you
we
know the
were
name,
debated
first
to
name
run
of the
away or
Suhrin?
not. Huh?
Do you know the first name of the Suhrin? What was his first name? You
I
know
think
that?
Joe. I think Joe.
And he married Karczynska, the sister
right.
of your
That's right.
mother?
That's right.
I see.
Josefa.
Mm-hmm.
Josefa.
Mm-hmm.
And the Germany last minute, the same time as they took to Auschwitz my uncle, couple months later they took him to SS, and that, what do you call that? Transcript? How you say that? You take by force to Army. Transcript?
Yes, I think
Something
so.
like that, transcript.
Mhm.
As a transcript. They were taking French, they were taking all.
Mhm.
Well, then my father, sister lived in Lviv.
Your,
Two of them.
your father's sister?
Sisters live in Lviv, Sapiecha, ulica.
Mm-hmm.
Sapiecha, he was probably Ukrainian, but he was, like you said in your writing, he was a noble, a very, very high noble. Very
So your
provincial,
father had relatives. He had sisters, right? They were also born.
Well,
in
he has
America?
a lot of sisters because 10 children.
Your father had 10.
No,
relatives?
he was my grandmother, my father's mother,
Mhm.
had 10 children,
Mhm.
and she on the 10th when she died in a polonienie during the birth. So
Know the names?
I don't know
So
all the names.
you had aunts, right, in Lviv?
Yeah, and I don't remember their marriages name. So one was married in Lviv, Olszewski,
Mhm.
who ran away because he was afraid to get transcript to the SS. So we were hiding him against the Germans under the horse. We had a huge a slab of rock big enough to hold a horse and then be room to get in and get out. Then we had a dugout that he could run away to forest only half a block and he would be out. So he was hiding against the Germany. So Germany came in, they looked at and they couldn't find nothing. So we were hiding him. Then, when the Banderovцы began, and when they start a massacre the rest of the first half of Polish people, they make somehow false statements that they got them all to Auschwitz. Nobody survived except this Jack. I don't remember his bastard name.
I remember. His name was Suchy.
Suchy, huh? Suchy.
So what happened with him? What did he do? What did he do? You know, what happened with Suchy? So he
Son of a
he's
bitch,
to-
finally
he's to
Germany,
blame.
somebody managed to change the Germans' mind. And they got him finally somebody higher than him from Polish side probably. Had a Germany twist things that they took him to Auschwitz. But his son of a bitch survived because the West came in and they captured the camp where he was prison. And he he survived. He lived. I mean, probably he's not living now because he's too
No,
old.
he was killed. I've heard that. I talked with his with his nephew who lives in Toronto, and he told me that he died in Ukraine. He was fighting on Ukrainian side in the Ukrainian resistance army, and he was killed in the forest near Dobra. Suche.
No.
No?
That's the son of a bitch. He does what's matter. They're afraid to say that he wind up in the Auschwitz.
He find out he.
I mean,
really?
what are they saying now? Rumors they spreading that he was not in Auschwitz.
No, no. That's.
You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
lying. They're hiding the.
Yes, he
That-
was in Auschwitz.
Huh? Yeah, he was in Auschwitz. He finally. That's what I'm trying to say. Finally, somebody dug the hole for him, and that was the last liquidation in the Dobra when they got rid of him. The
I
Suki,
see.
now you say.
Suche.
So then that stopped. After that, nobody was no more arrested in Poland, in the Dobra.
Mhm.
So but he survived the Auschwitz because he escaped somewhere to west,
Mhm.
and after the west, I don't know where he go. South America or where, I don't know.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's
I've
it.
heard that he died in the forest.
No.
And what is funny that his nephew, who lives in Toronto, he told me that they are Polish. Suche belonged to a Polish family. He was a Diak, but they all were
Yeah.
Polish.
I don't know where he was.
Brother of Diak Suche lives in near Dobra. I forgot, maybe in Chisna. I don't know in where, but somewhere, not far from Dobra. His brother still lives there.
Well, you see, but that's what it is. So we know they finally dug the hole for him, and what he did after the Auschwitz, it's possible that he escaped there because when he was in Auschwitz, so they give him freedom, and there was a method Swiss used to do because they were a neutral country, so they participating, dividing who belongs to West, who belongs to East, and they were putting all the who belonged to East into Russian hands. Was not fair, but
Not fair, right?
but that's the way they did it. That was not fair at all. Well, my two cousins from my father's side, they both went voluntarily to Germany to work, and they both were taken as a prisoners. They didn't. Once the Russian, all those people that I think, those that worked for Germany and were from the East Russian Communist bloc, which was created in Yalta, they all were taken to Russia. We had a couple letters from them. One name was Nikolai.
Demkovich?
Hmm?
Demkovich?
No, I forgot the name. He was the old. She was the. That was my aunt, father's sister. She was the oldest one, and I don't remember her married name. She married a guy from Uluch, and he was in the Polish military. He was wounded. He had a steel help, and so he was getting pension. And he kind of owned it, used the house for himself. But once my father got married, house was given by law to my father. So he moved to Uluch, didn't build a house. So he had it. She had also but 10 sons. Sons and 2 daughters. Istinka, and Istinka, and some others said that's Istinka, something like that. She was a very beautiful girl. They were telling me, unusual beautiful girl. And there was a fire. She died in the fire. So my aunt managed with our help over here, without our help, to get to Canada. So I was there in Canada in 1953, that far. So they lived on Mary Street. I think it's a Mary Street, Main
Where?
Street in the Canada, right in
Who lives
Montreal.
in Canada? Who lives
In
in
Montreal, my father, sister,
Mhm.
and few daughters.
They were, you know, they left Ukraine. You know,
They left Ukraine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they were also, well, I don't remember no more too much, because then once we ran away from the Ukrainians people, and I got a notice that they're gonna kill us. It happened, I was traveling from Terava, and where we lived during the Russians' time, that 1 year, and the guy, same guy that the house across the street of his son, he seen me. He said, well, tonight, szlak was trafi przychodnia. So then when I said this to my father and mother, then my uncle, Olszewski, and Ceszka, Cecil, ran away together. I ran away, I took the cow, father took the horse, and we separated. There's a big story by the son. The man had a bull, and I took the cow to the bull, so they would not notice it. You scare hell. So they would not notice it that we are running away. So I took the cow to the bull. Means to get closer to the sun. And meanwhile, father was riding the horse, and my mother somehow another road took it everywhere separately, so they wouldn't notice that we were running away. There was a brood that's been low water, so we walk across the river, big river, pretty big river. One of my cousins drowned in the Poland. I was, but that's after we were playing around, and
In Sun?
one of my cousin Kroviak
In the Sun River.
in the sun, yeah, right by that mountain of Lomza and Lugina. There's a mountain where the sun hits the wall. 3 days they were looking for him, and I felt very sad because we were pasture the horses, cows, and it was a real crazy thing. It was a overflow of a river, and two of us decided to go swim. Just 20 minutes before the guy almost drowned with the horses. And I crossed the river, he didn't make it. And he was a good swimmer. I'm not swimming today, I never could swim good. But I had a different method. I followed the river, where I knew where it was a spread that I will survive. So when I got tired, when I stand up, I was exactly like this in the water.
But I would
And I crossed it. Meanwhile, they jumped it, and the horses tried to find him. Disappeared.
I would like to ask you about this controversial.
So I have to, you can keep it in mind. I'll finish that part where I was most touched again, because I was touched, always touched by that part, where this Brzezinski, he was escaping back and forth from the Banderovцев, but he didn't think that they would attack mother and two daughters, which I went to school with them. And one of them made me a glove, knitted, made me a glove. I was very proud of those girls. I was very proud. And mother was taken care of because the father was died early, so she was widowed. And we were able from the mountain to see all what was going on down the valley. And there was a fire going all day in the house. And my mother says something was to happen there. Sure, we learned that the Banderovцы killed all three of them. And one, they smashed the head. They cut the head off the girl and smashed it in the wall, and the brain splashed the whole wall. So that is the most sensitive thing for me. Killing the. That's not. That's
What
no
else
UPA.
So your
No UPA should have done it, or
Right.
if somebody else done it, they should shoot him for something.
Right. So you stayed with your parents until you didn't take part in any fighting in Dobra. What happened with your head?
I
if
was
may
fighting.
ask?
I was fighting with against the Nazis. I was fighting the Nazis. I deliver ammunition and things like that to a partisan, and that's where I was doing. That's where I.
So what happened. So you stayed until 1947 in Dobra. Until
No,
do you know
no.
anything? Do you know anything about so-called Akcja Wisła, Operation Wisła? Do you know anything about this? Do you know anything
You're talking about the Russians waiting till Germany finished the Warsaw, or
No. In 1946, in 1946, part of Dobra were people of Dobra were moved to Ukraine, right? 1946. You were in Dobra at that time.
I was in Dobra on the all the evacuation by Russians and by Russian the first time, very first time, during when going to school with my
Yes,
father.
yes.
And I was in the Dobra where Banderovцы, then we ran away from Banderovцы. Banderovцы, they learned also that my uncle from Lwów is hiding and he's Polish, Olszewski, so they wanted to kill him, and he was still hiding the same way as against the Germans.
But
the
you
same method.
lived in Dobra until 47 or until
No,
45?
Dobra, I
Because your
lived in
sister
the
said-
Dobra. I lived in the Dobra and up to about 45, the end of the 45.
And what happened then? Why did you move out? Where did you move?
Because the Banderovцы wanted to kill us. They told us, like I said before.
Why they wanted to kill you? Because
Because,
you cooperated with Russians when they first were in Dobra, or why?
Well, they murdered my uncles, who they took to Auschwitz. Was not enough for them that they sent him to Auschwitz. They murdered his wife brutally.
Stanley Karczynski, right?
Stan Skarżyński's wife they murdered,
Mm-hmm.
and we gave them. It was my dog, big, huge dog. They killed the dog and they murdered her, massacred her. And still was not enough for some people to start running. We were first one that ran away before from the from
You
your
ran
own
away to
people.
Sanok or to Łodzina or to Chłomcza?
Logina. First we had Logina, where father moved there because the persons who they were his foster parents. So he moved right to them. They took care of us very nicely.
Foster parents of your father were Hnatushko.
Well, when Natushko, when
That-
my grandmother died, my father's grandmother died, Natushko left.
No, I would like.
He's gone. He was
I would
no
like
lo-
to ask you once again. You said about this at the beginning. Your father Michael Demkovich was born here,
Right.
and you said his father, right, died in America, right,
Did you say that?
when he was 1 year old. No, you know
No,
who
no,
was
no,
foster
no.
parent? Who was? What was the name of the foster parent?
Foster Natushko.
Natushko. He was the Natushko was a foster parent of your father, right?
That's right.
And do you know
She's
the?
not blood related.
Okay, yeah, I know. Do you know what was the first name of this Natushko
Oh, Nick, I think, something like that.
or Michael? And he
Or
lived
Michael.
no,
That
and he
was,
lived he
Nick or
lived
Michael.
here in America, right?
I think he also lived in America. That's right. He was in America too. I don't know exactly,
Yeah.
but so
So he
Father,
moved
I
to
remember
Poland
it.
and he lived in Sanok and or Łodzina or Chłomcza, and you in Dobra in 1945 you decided to run away
that's right.
because you know you're afraid of Banderowcy.
Right, because they came in a couple of times and with the bayonets, they were in
and
the
you
channel.
ran away to Sanok to whom? To your foster parent, right?
No.
To foster parent.
Sounded to nobody. We foster parents to Lugina.
To Łodzina.
So we ran away first thing and ran like hell. If you know the Dobra. You know Dobra well?
Yeah.
Well, you know from the land of the Lugina, it's a nice land by the river, but then it's a steep, pretty steep mountain. Not too steep, but pretty steep. So anyway, so once we got there, we felt that we in heaven. We only stayed about 2 days because they were afraid that the Ukrainians are gonna go after us over the river, and they did after Lumzhe. They burned whole Lumzhe. They burned all the houses on alongside the river on the west side. They burned all the houses. They remember my father let the horses and the cows from the stania, from barn, and they were running away toward Mrzygłód, and they were shooting. Banderowcy were shooting with machine guns. They said that they see the bullets, red. They fly at night, red. They attacked at night.
What
And
did
they
they
burned
say
it.
to you? That
Huh?
in English, what did they say that made you run? Somebody told you something?
No, they attacked, and we heard the shots.
Somebody gave you a message,
should-
right?
should-
You said, but you said it in Polish before, and I didn't hear that. Somebody told you some message that you better leave or something.
No, when we got to Lugina, we were told by the foster parents of my father that he's not safe.
No, before that, you were in Dobra. You said somebody gave you a message like you're gonna die tonight.
Oh, the message was when I was traveling from Tirava, so for a pretty long travel, and I carried 5 gallons can, of oil. And this guy knew because he lived in his son's house during the Russians' first occupation. And he felt probably hurt that we were living in his house and his son is in Siberia. So he's the one that caused me the sick. He cursed, he gave the curse on me. I was very sick that I had such a headache for a couple of days. I thought I was gonna die. I think he cursed me because from envy and that his son is in Siberia somewhere, and we were living in his son's house, and now Germany's so they free. Now they thought they're going to create the Ukraine. So when I was passing by, and he see me, and he said,
In English.
Today you all will be dead. So and
So
we
you
ran
moved to
away.
Łocina to Hnatuśko, right?
No, the Lugina, there was not Dushko, there was somebody else. It was
No, but you said
another name.
You know, I still don't understand. Maybe when we review the tapes, I will catch it. You know, but you know, your parents were born in 1904, 1903.
You see, you may get mixed up with the
Yeah.
two foster parents. No, it's not two foster parents. The stepfather was Natushko,
The stepfather was Hnatuśko of your father,
of my father.
and your father died here in America.
And my father was
No, your grandfather died here in Oliphant.
no, died in Sanok.
No, it's impossible because your father was born in America, right? Was born in
Right.
America, and he returned to Poland with his parents, right?
That's right.
And how old he was when he returned? To
1
Poland?
year.
Oh, he was 1 year old.
1 year. He
So
was.
they returned in 1905.
The Karczynski stayed longer, 12 years, because my mother had 12 years school over here.
Uh-huh.
Not 12 years, she went to school over here, so she was 12.
Mhm.
So she knew how to read and write.
Mhm.
And my father, no, because he was only a year old.
So your
When they took him.
mother was older than your father.
Not only a year.
1 year.
1 year.
So how come that she was attending school
No,
up to 12?
they didn't move back same time. One moved 10 years
Oh,
later.
right. I see. Right. Okay.
See?
Okay. And Demkovich, who was 1 year old, moved with his mother back to. What happened with his father? He died here in accident or what?
My father's father, you see, I never learned how my father's father died.
So your grandmother returned to Dobra alone.
Somehow my father's father died. He was only right after he came from America.
In Sanok, you said he died.
Hmm?
You
You said in Sanok, right?
No,
No, not in Sanok?
not my mother, grandfather. That's
Uh-huh.
two. You know, my father died probably right after. So it would be in the 1910.
He died after returning from America.
Returning from America.
Yes, and so your mother lived with Hnatuśko.
Now
later.
let's see it where my father in the death of my grandfather. If my father was only 1 year old, the father returned, and my grandmother stayed unmarried for a couple years only. So that means he died somewhere in 1986, 3 years after he returned. And the youngest one, the youngest one was Nick, and Nikolai. And so that's mean Natushko came into be a stepfather somewhere where my father probably was 9 years old or something like that. So that's mean they.
So you lived in Łozina until 1940, until
No,
when you
Lugina, we didn't live in Lugina. We
2 days.
my father lived. He moved. Somebody took him over there as a foster parents. And they took care of him, and they built him up, and he grew well, and he was very strong, and he plowed the land. He did all that working in a little well-off people, not rich but well-off, and that's where we ran away, and that was our first stop. And then the second stop was Mrzygłód, because there was safer.
Do you know the name Popiel from Mrzygłód, who was, I've heard there was a
Yeah.
policeman? Do you remember?
No, probably not. No, probably not.
His son taught in school in Dobra after the war. Okay, so then you moved to Mrzygłód.
After the war, school, he was probably in America, because he worked for me a year. His wife teacher too, because there was one fellow, and I forgot the name, maybe Popiel, and I just forgot the name. He worked for me for about 6 months, and he went back to Poland because his wife and him were teaching. So he said I think he was teaching in Sanok. Okay, so he had a
So
good
from
life.
Mrzygłód you went to America?
No. Mrzygłód, I start school all over again. So I went 1 year to being tutored by teacher, widow of the victim of the Germany, Kulczycka. Oh, I have a nice memory of my. If you would like to see a copy or something like that, I give it to you. My birds in my school and the grades and all. She gave it to me. She was kierownik szkoły in Tyrawa. But there was also Dąbrowski w Mrzygłodzie kierownik school. He took the exam after tutoring 7 grades I made. He won, the one who gave the second approval. Krystyna, przynieś tą, proszę Ciebie, tą papiery moje stare z beczki tej tam. Co przynieś to wszystko. So I made the 7 grades and in 1 year be tutored. So I had an excellent teacher. She was a wonderful teacher. She had 1 son. And we used to supply her with the milk and other stuff. And she taught me for that. Wonderful woman. I didn't appreciate it. I don't know. I came to this country, and know this country, it's hard. Nobody cared that I was crippled. I even, as an Allied Army, I went to Newark Veteran Administration. And they would not recognize, because I was, I didn't have the authority. I didn't know to force to go to lawyer. I never dreamed to go see lawyer. So I went by myself, so they just said, no, we can't do nothing for you. But it's not true. I, as an allied, get hurt because being in an allied participation, I think I'm entitled to, I should have been getting that. I got very rich. I did get very rich. I'm worth it now, $5 million. Yeah, very rich. They have $1.5 million home. I give building. I give them. So I didn't look for. So I was very successful. Builder, very successful builder.
You build houses here?
I built first houses over here. I built this house. I built this house. I built next door house, and I built their house. They built it themselves more or less under my watch, but I started it. It was all my mother house. I bought the house purposely for building 2 houses. Tear it down. I was going to tear it down. And when my father and mother came here 1957, so I gave them the house with the land, because for me, the house was only worth it for the land. So I gave it to them, and I was happy to have my father and mother right over here. She used to watch the kids going to school, to the church, and they all had to go to school over here. So therefore I moved over here because of school, convenience.
So they lived in Dobra until 1957, until they were allowed to leave.
That's right. That's right. They then live in the Dobra. It was a different Dobra, different people. So they had a lot of good time. My mother was sorry that she came to America. She had America. My father always was lucky. He had a horse, and he used to carry the milk from Dobra milk to Zigul or somewhere to have it make the butter.
Yes.
And my father collected all the milk he wanted it, and he was feeding the horse and cows, whatever he did. So they were rich because they were getting paid for delivery of milk, again delivery. So for Russians, then they had a horse, a very powerful horse, and they kolhoz machines. They also always got sunk in the mud. So my only horse could pull, the only one horse that was there, that my father owned it, that was able to pull the machine out of the mud. So they had America there. They really did. They didn't have no responsibility. They didn't have no children growing, trouble children, 17, you get into trouble. So we lived Lomcha, that's where they burned the Rovci, burned the houses, and they killed the Hujikevich, a person. And that's where finally, I wasn't there when they burned the village of Lomcha. I was in
You
the
were in
summer,
school, right?
in
You were
the school
after the
summer.
war.
I went to gymnasium. So I went for almost 2 years. I had 2 years of high school. I made it all in 1 year, and the 7th grade, so I made it, and then 2 years of gymnasium.
Oh, that's great.
So I got all the papers. Look, some finding here some it's a school papers.
What papers? Wow, that's interesting.
So-
That's interesting that you made in America. You
And I made it
became
well over
very,
here.
very fast a
I
builder here.
had 3 newspapers.
You had newspapers?
Yeah, Lyndon Leader and Garden State News, and I also had a Berkeley Heights Beacon. It's a rich area, rich people area. I was so rich, I bought the newspapers, and I continue produce the very first original color paper machines we had it.
Really?
Yeah.
Where did you
but
learn
I
all
sold
this?
it.
Where did you learn all this?
I hire American editors. I didn't do it in the Polish. I did it right way.
Oh, this is, this is real
Certificate.
Szkoła Publiczna imienia Józefa Piłsudskiego.
That's right, samo.
W Skowojnie była taka szkoła o takim imieniu.
Tak.
What is it? What are you
This
Oh,
is
yes,
guys
sir.
unbelievable. This is
They
unbelievable.
didn't, there was no election, there was a subject to election, so the changes were not made during the 2 years after war, because
Mr.
election
Markovich, you were of Greek Catholic religion. It's written
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
This is, listen,
What is this, school?
this is unbelievable, After
but
the
you
war,
read the-
in the communist country, they write the name of the school as Józef Piłsudski. His name was banned, He was the leader of President of Poland before the war. And it's written also that he's
That's historical, that's right, that's a pretty good.
that's a
Pilsudski.
good point, right?
That's a good point, hey?
Yes,
I
and
didn't
it's
get
written
it.
that he's religion of Greek Catholic religion.
Yeah.
I would like to have, this, and he was a good student,
I kind
You
of
should
went
give
after my
everything-
mother's side. I resigned after what we suffering and not having Polish friends. No, not having Ukrainian friends. I was pulled into the crowd of Polish society. And let me tell you, the Polish society over here in the United States was wonderful. And I was a leader, I became a leader over here. Anybody, when a refugee were coming from all over, and there was an application over here given. They didn't ask no questions, just sign it. And I used to go picnics over here. They're like in here Elizabeth. It's like a 5 or 6 places of Polish ballrooms. One Ukrainian on Fulton Street ballroom. So one in the Newark ballroom still is in Newark. So I used to have a good time. Oh, I had a hell of a good time over here.
Here's, this document, this certificate from school, it says that you were of Greek Catholic, and it was written in 1946, and here it is 1949, and it's signed by the priest in Brzegwood, Roman Catholic, and it's written that you were born as a Roman Catholic. Those Polish priests, they falsified, Something is, false here.
How about that, huh?
Yes.
You see? So I'm a fake.
Yes, you're fake, It's not your fault. They made you fake, And
Well,
it-
Polish or Polish or Ukrainian, the language was one. There was no
Yeah.
Polish language
in Dobra.
in Dobra.
There was no Polish language. This is a good point, you should make it to the camera. So the priest in Brzegwood, gave him a birth certificate and falsified his religion. Because the same happened with my aunt, the same happened. This religion was abolished, this Greek Catholic.
So you were very clever asking Michael that I might resent you. No, I not resenting. I was very happy to see you being at your age as you are and the way you are. I was very pleased. See, the moment I see you, I knew that.
Your sister said that we
good.
look alike, that there is a resemblance,
Sort of.
between us.
Maybe it's the gray hair.
But, the movie, I kind of was resentful because I didn't know what it was all about.
Uh-huh.
if I felt if the Ukrainians want to create Ukraine and Dobra,
No.
that is not a proper thing.
No, listen, I tell you
Because
something
the
about
best
the
they
movie.
can do, move to the Ukrainian.
Yes. This is the document from American Embassy in Warsaw stating that they received the paper from him
And acknowledging that I am a citizen of the United States. And year what? What year? 40,
If that A is
Six.
lit, you turn it off.
47?
The A.
46, I guess.
person.
She'll make copy. Give it to her.
You have this copy? Just
I went to Warsaw. There was nothing. Embassy, they had a little
Yeah, they.
part of the building, but the Warsaw was nothing but skeletons.
Yeah.
Skeleton.
So, Mr. Tymkowicz, do you speak Ukrainian?
No.
Why not?
Не знаю дуже. Я знałem по-русски, już не знаю, много не понимаю.
No to po rosyjsku, ale nie po
Ja
ukraińsku.
знаю.
Ale mówił pan po ukraińsku w Dobry, jak pan mieszkał, nie?
Я не знаю, то było, tam по-українськи nikt nie mówił.
W Dobrej wszyscy
Dobry.
mówili po ukraińsku.
Nie, tam nikt nie mówił. Slang language.
Yes, it was a slang language,
Total
that's true.
slang.
But it was Ukrainian slang.
That, well, perhaps Belarusia or Ukraine, it was a mixed slang.
I think that.
Have this xerocopy.
Yeah.
This is this is Polish consulate in New York, responding to the case of citizenship, and they said that that he might be Ukrainian,
They say that?
Yes.
But I have citizenship Polish.
Yeah, but finally he has Polish. I would like to have this one,
Okay.
Of course you have, this is the most stupid document I have seen in years, because
Там на поле вірба, під том вербом студня, там дівчина красна брива, хорошо я молода. Там дівчина красна брива, хорошо я молода. Дівче,
a ja uwierzyłem, że pan
козак коня веде, дівче води бере.
See?
Козак питать ще же,
Mike, I don't know if they
до куда та дорога йде? Та дорога йде до самого Києва, тою дорогою крутенький ідуть, тою дорогою крутенький ідуть.
A ja już uwierzyłem, że pan nie mówi po ukraińsku, ale śpiewać pan umie.
Мы с Буденным ходили, мы с Буденным пили на Рощане большое дела. Наша громкая слава прошла. Москва моя, земля моя, могучая, кипучая, ты красивая. На позиции девушка превежала бойца. Розпрягайте, хлопці коні, і лягайте спочивать, бо я їду в сад зелений, коні напавать. Бо я їду в сад зелений, коні напавать. Що більше?
To świetnie, to mnie pan zaskoczył. I po rosyjsku i po ukraińsku.
Набери, Катюша, на високий, набери крутой. That's all right, you look through. Туда он пойдем,
Wychodziła na bry Katiusza, na wysoki kruтой, na wysoki bry kruтой. Żołnierz drogo maszerował, na plecaku serce chował. No, nie wiem.
Gdzie się pan tego nauczył? To
Tą
chyba w Ameryce.
piosenkę, tą jedyną śpiewam dla ciebie, dziewczyno. I da 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 da, tą piosenkę, tą jedyną śpiewam dla ciebie, dziewczyno. Żołnierz drogą maszerował, na plecaku się schował, serce schował i dalej pomaszerował. La la li, la 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 la. Rozszumiały się wierzby płaczące, rozpłakała się dziewczyna ma i podniosła swe oczy płaczące. Ja la 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 la.
You have a voice.
Armaty biją w dzień, śmierć kosi jak lan, a my nie wiemy co to jest. Maszeruje to polska piechota. I la 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 la. La la li li a di di la du lu. La 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 la. Rozszumiały się wierzby płaczące. That's weeping willow. Weeping willow. Rozszumiał, weeping willow start making noise, like a wind blew.
Yeah, I'll do like Howard Stern and put music
And,
behind his father. Make it say better.
Rozszumiały się wierzby płaczące. Rozpłakała się dziewczyna ma i podniosła swe oczy błyszczące. La 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 di 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 la la. Do tańca grają nam, armaty biją szczęk, śmierć kosi jak lan, a my nie wiemy co to jest. Śmierć kosi jak lan, a my nie wiemy co to jest. That's a song. It says the girl is crying like a weeping river, weeping willow, and they are artillery are exploding. People are dying, but we don't know what that is. We are going ahead. That's a very, very, very tender. Sonoku, dobrej. Moja mama to by to śpiewała w kościele, w cerkwi, z dziakiem, nie czy z tym skurwysynem, ale z dziakiem. She was singing two voices. She was a great singer and she was very beautiful. I didn't have her picture.
Niesamowite to jest. Tell me why, you needed Polish citizenship.
I thought that I want to reclaim Auschwitz.
What do you reclaim Auschwitz?
Auschwitz.
You were not in Auschwitz.
Because suffering from your own people, Ukrainian, and having half a family, another uncle, Levon, Russians killed them, He was 19 years old. So I had a bad experience with especially, like I said, the brain of a splashed.
Okay, you don't want to answer.
The name was
Listen,
Paraska.
I have, you know,
The
this
name
is
was Paraska. You can write it. Paraska Brzezicki.
okay. This is unbelievable. You asked for your when you were leaving Poland, you said that you are not citizen of Poland. You couldn't say you were citizen of Poland.
No, I was not.
Why not?
Because my father, I could go as a president in this country. Romney did in
But you were born
Detroit,
in Poland.
Detroit, because he was born in Mexico. His father and mother was ambassadors, but he was born in Mexico.
But you were
That
born.
didn't mean that he didn't have the Polish citizenship.
No, I tell you something. You know, these people shouldn't work in Polish consulate. If you wanted Polish consulate, you just showed them birth certificate. You paid money for this, and those, you know, I know this Clem, you know, this guy.
Yeah.
And they are sending you letters, they are checking you, that they want the witness from you. You don't need anything. You know, this is something unbelievable, you know. I cannot imagine. So it means that those people who were born in Dobra, they were not Polish citizens, they were Ukrainians, but
Yeah,
they were
that
Polish
was crazy.
citizens.
That was crazy.
This is, you know, this is,
That's right. I questioned that. I said, well, how can you question somebody born in Poland and
it's
not
not Polish
entitled to
citizen.
the citizenship? Yeah, I raised that question.
and I'm surprised that you are trying to explain them anything. I wouldn't even bother to explain, you know. And
Well,
this is, you know,
I
Mr.
tried-
Volkovic, this is unbelievable letters
I
you wrote.
tried
you
to
know.
prove that. I tried to prove that I'm gonna get what I want to get. I have a passport too. I wanted this passport, Polish passport, so I have to be citizen in order to have a Polish passport.
And they giving it to you? You got
Yeah,
citizenship?
yeah, and I have a passport too. So when you don't see me here, nobody's gonna know how I got to Poland.
If I may ask, you know, what happened with your hand?
Well,
I see here that it happened in 1943. You put in one of the documents that it happened in 1943. What happened?
Well, we got ambushed by Germans when I was taking partisans from one place to another, and a hand grenade exploded. I didn't throw fast enough, and the count was wrong and ruined my hand.
No,
This
there
is
was a
Prom,
server
you
job.
know,
Yeah, Prom. Yeah.
Dobra. Do you know the priest's house?
Yeah, that was by Russian pretty much destroyed.
Yeah.
Church was not
Your old
destroyed.
school?
Yeah, I guess so. That looks like yeah.
Ukraiński Dom Narodowy, National
Yeah,
National
that
Home?
used to be a theater.
Yes.
Right, yeah, that was a theater.
Okay, no more pictures of Dobra.
And over there I did everything. I cleaned the toilets, I washed dishes, I cleaned the tables, I cleaned the floors, and then I became a short order cook. That's mean breakfast, eggs, bacon. So I had it pretty good there. I had a diversified jobs, and they liked me. One of the guys in the picture you see, I say he was a Polish radny over here, 6-word number, and he got me job Newark Transformers. We were packing transformers for the boilers, houses. Was not the best of time when I come in. So then I got a job in a restaurant, not a restaurant, hospital. I think I got a job to be a dietitian cook. There's two of us, because a woman that work in a dietitian is a diet cook for especially sick people. I was pregnant and she had 6 months out, so I worked in the kitchen for 6 months with another guy, and same time I was learning. He was ahead of me, but we worked together. So we served the hospital. I used to have to take all the food pack into the wheel and serve the patients, those special patients. Then that ended. Somehow they switched me to be a waitress for the nurse, doctors, bishops, and all archbishops, all that they were coming to because that was a Zakonny hospital, Election Brothers, and Strilka yesterday, just before
Yes,
you.
Strilka, he was a contractor here.
Yeah,
A lot of people from Dobra and Sanok
he
work for
probably,
him.
and he knows the history. He knows about what
He has beautiful house in Łomcza. Beautiful house.
Yeah.
Not finished. He just divorced his wife, I think.
Yeah,
You know him? You know him?
He worked for me.
He worked for you?
He learned.
I know.
He learned the trade with me.
Really?
Then he went his own business. Then
I
he
know.
bankrupt.
I know people who he bankrupt. I know people.
But now he's doing it again pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
You know? You have contact with him?
Yeah, I get. They were yesterday. Before you, they were for about 3 hours.
You should introduce me to him. You know?
Oh yeah, his son knows history too, and about.
He's old guy, Strilko?
No, he must be about 50, maybe.
You should
closer.
introduce me to him, you know.
Maybe.
He has beautiful house in Łomcza, built, you know, like the old houses in this area from wood, you know. It's beautiful. He planned to move there, but he didn't. And people from Łomcza and from Sanok, you know, Popiels, worked for him
Oh yeah.
before. Yeah, I know them.
Well, he knows, and he denied he was Ukrainian.
He was Ukrainian, of course.
But he denied. So yesterday.
You deny too, you know. You deny
Well,
too.
I didn't deny because you really something when it's CZ, you can't deny really. Really, you can't deny.
My name is Jan Popiel. I come from Poland. I was born in Poland, but my parents and grandparents and grandparents were born, all of them were born in Dobra. My mother's mother is Demkowicz, Justyna Demkowicz, and my father's grandmother is Rosalia Demkowicz. My father's mother is Maria Chnatuśko Dobrzańska, Herbusas, and they were all nobility, Ukrainian nobility from Dobra. This document is 1565 census of Poland, of southeast of Poland. King of Poland sent his people to bring him report about the country, and they went to Dobra, and they have written Dobra is a village on the bank of the river San, inhabited by Ukrainian nobility. And this nobility received their privileges on June 28, 1402, and the privileges for them were given by King Jagiełło, King of Poland and Lithuania, and the privileges including and the duties, and their duties was to send 3 men and later 4 men on horses on every war. But this lustracja, this census says that they also have the duty to the Starosta Sanocki, which means governor of Sanok province, but in 1565 they were liberated from these duties. And at the end of this lustratia or census says that they not only sent 3 people on every war, the whole village used to go and take part in every war, and they behaved the way Polish nobility behaved, although they were Ukrainians. This document was published in the book. The whole book was written published in 1912 was written by Wojciech Hejnosz, and this book is kept in New York Public Library. And this book is wholly devoted to Dobra in 15th and 16th century. This book tells about the society in Dobra, the people, the law which was used by them, and this was very special village. This was not like the other Polish villages. This was the village which didn't take the Polish law. They ruled themselves by Ukrainian law. The title of the book is called Jus Rutenikale, which means Ukrainian law.
Rozszumiały się wierzby płaczące, rozpłakała się dziewczyna ma i podniosła swe oczy płaczące. La 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 la.
You have a voice.
Armaty bijowcze, śmierć kosi jak lan, a my nie wiemy co to jest. Maszeruje to polska piechota. I la 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 la. La la li la di di la lu lu. La 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 la.